Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be going over my Reddit fantasy bingo board for 2023 to see how I did before the new bingo board is released at the beginning of April for 2024. First off, apologies, my neighborhood is very loud today. I don't know what's going on, but it's very loud, so apologies for any and all background noises. If I waited for my neighborhood to be quiet, I would never get to film. So we're just gonna keep going. So this was my first year participating in Reddit Bingo. Our fantasy bingo, whatever it's called, whatever the official name is. This was my first year participating in it. I didn't even know it existed until last year when I think I saw Angela talking about it. And I just very impulsively decided to jump on board because that's just who I am as a person. And I'm not going to be submitting this because I don't know that I really followed the rules the way you're supposed to. So this was just for fun. And let's just dive in. The first one, title, I read Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher. And this kind of was the beginning of my spring, early summer obsession with T. Kingfisher and with that Paladin universe as a whole. I really love it. I really need to read the fourth book that came out not too long ago. But anyways, so I did that one. The next prompt was superheroes. And for that one, I read the second Cute Mutants book. What's it called? Young, Gifted, and Queer by S.J. Whitby. And this one was good because I really tried to use, in general, I tried to use the bingo board as a way to make progress in series, if at all possible, and it worked out so nicely for this. This is kind of like a YA X-Men inspired fantasy series, except the characters' mutant powers aren't the kind of useful powers that you would think of when you think of superheroes. They're very oddball, but it's such a fun series. Bottom of the TBR, I did cheat a little bit for this one. I put down Rosemary and Rue by Shauna McGuire, which if you watched my wrap up for, was it January or February? Anyways, I DNF'd it, but I DNF'd it at 60% in, and you know what? It's been on the bottom of my TBR, and it got off the bottom of my TBR, so I'm gonna count it, even though I didn't actually finish it. Doesn't matter. For this specific instance, it counts. But this is the first book in a very long-running urban fantasy mystery series. For the magical realism prompt, I read The Enchanted Hacienda by J.C. Cervantes, and I didn't love it as much as I thought I was going to. When I started it, I really thought this was going to be like a 5-star read, and at the end of the day, it was not, but I don't know. The vibes at the beginning of the book were so good. I don't know why I'm giving you all reviews. This video is going to be way too long if I review every book, so let me stop doing that now. For young adult, I read 16 Souls by Rosie Talbot, which is YA urban fantasy, and I'm very anxiously waiting for book 2 to be released in the United States. For mundane jobs, I picked Ink Blood Sister Scribe. Why did I pick this one? What is the job? One of the sisters is an electrician, published in 2000s. This was the hardest one for me. I was trying to find a book published in the 2000s that I actually wanted to read, that wasn't going to be a duplicate of another author that I had on the bingo board, because I did try to stay with that rule if you can't put the same author into multiple categories. And then I think it was in December, I was going through the list and I remembered that Graceline was published in the 2000s, which is great. I didn't care for this series very much, but it was published in like 2007, so that worked out. For the Angels and Demons prompt, I read Small Miracles by Olivia Atwater. There's no, well, I guess there is kind of a demon. There's fallen angels. I don't know. Do fallen angels count as demons? And then there are actual angels. There are actual angels, and then there are fallen angels. I don't remember if you needed to have both or just have the angel component, but this also would have been a hard one because I'm not naturally drawn to books that have angels or demons. So we're just lucky that Olivia Atwater had my back and wrote this really like delightfully weird book about angels. For short stories, I read Out There Screaming, edited by Jordan Peele, which was, at the time, I liked it. As time has gone on, I've liked it less. It ended up being a fairly forgettable collection of short stories, unfortunately. And for horror, I read The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Khaw. I did not care for this one. I think I'm taking Cassandra Khaw off of my authors I'm interested in list because I just don't think she's the right author for me. For self-published, I read Letters to Half Moon Street by Sarah Wallace. You know how I feel about Letters to Half Moon Street. Oh, so good. I could have slotted this book in to so many categories. It was really hard to pick like just one. For set in the Middle East, I read The Daughters of Izdahar, and that's a good reminder that I need to read book 2 because I kind of forgot that I wanted to read book 2, and it's only duology, so minimal effort required. Published in 2023, I picked The Lies of the Ajungo. Ugh, and listen, I just finished The Truth of the Aleke, which is book 2, a couple days ago, and this author, he is probably going to be an auto-buy author. We'll see how he finishes this series. Book 3, I think, is coming out next year. And in his acknowledgments, he teased for what is coming in book 3, and I'm so excited. So if these continue, like if book 3 is a 5-star the way book 2 and book 1 were, I'm so excited. For the multiverse prompt, I read The Dark Lord's Daughter by Patricia C. Reedy. This is a middle grade fantasy where a girl in our world gets sucked through a portal into another world where she discovers she is the long lost daughter of the deceased Dark Lord and has to decide if like she's going to take over the kingdom or if she's going to go back to Earth. For the POC author prompt, I picked Kingdom of the Gods by N.K. Jemisin. Did I just finish that trilogy last year? Man, 2023 was a wild time. This is the final book in the 100,000 Kingdoms series. Is it the final book? Yep. Okay, it's the final book in the 100,000 Kingdoms series, and it's N.K. Jemisin, so I don't know. It was a good time. For the book club prompt, I picked Jade City, which I read for Stephanie's Patreon book club. And I'm in the unpopular opinion camp because I didn't like it and not continuing on with the series. For the novella prompt, I read The Mimicking of Known Successes by Michael Older, which is a sci-fi novella set on Jupiter, and it's got a detective it's got a Sherlock and Watson dynamic going on, but also a second chance romance kind of thing, but the romance isn't like a big deal. It's not the main part of the plot. It's just kind of in the background. For the mythical beasts prompt, I read Natural History of Dragons by Marie Brennan, and it was so good. I need to keep going with that series too. So I have, oh yeah, look, there you go. Book 2. Right there, waiting so patiently for me to get to it. For the elemental magic prompt, I read Fox Hunt, which had fire magic. You know what? I'm gonna be honest. It's been so long since I read that book, and I don't remember what exactly. I think there was fire magic because I think will show the main character with fire coming out of their hands. Maybe, kind of, sorta. Okay, but yeah. Anyways, moving on. For myths and retelling, I read The Story of the 100 Promises, and this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. It's super queer, it is delightful. I highly recommend it. It's also very small press published, and yeah, if you're looking for super queer norm fantasy, recommend. For the actual queer norm setting, I read Spear by Nicola Griffith, which is a queer King Arthur retelling, basically. For coastal setting, I picked The Siren, the Song, and the Sky, which is the sequel to The Mermaid, the Something and the Something. What is it? The Mermaid, the Witch, and the Sea is what it's a sequel to. So yes. For the Druid prompt, I'm gonna be honest, I really struggled with the Druid prompt as well. I ended up putting the Jasmine Throne down for that one. But that could be incorrect. I'm not sure I really understand what a druid is, or because I think it's somebody who has like nature-based magic, but I wasn't really understanding the difference between the druid prompt and the elemental magic prompt. So I don't know. That could be wrong. If it is, oh well. Like I said, I'm just doing this for fun. I don't really care if I'm not following the rules. For the features robot prompt, I read the most recent Murderbot, and yep, and nothing more needed to be said. And then for the sequel prompt, I read Mammoths at the Gate, which is book 4 in the Singing Hills cycle. Okay, so let's talk about my process for doing the bingo board this year. I didn't build any TBRs around this. I would periodically pull the bingo board back up and go through my story graph and see if anything fit prompts, and then I would every once in a while try to eyeball ahead of time, you know, oh, I still haven't done this prompt, is there a book I want to read that would fit in? And then once the board got significantly filled out, that's when I actively started to try to find books to fulfill prompts. So it was a real loosey-goosey. I didn't put a lot of thought into it. I didn't put a ton of planning into it. I just happened to read enough books in a year that it was fairly easy to find something that would fit a theme, unless of course like the Druid one, which was really hard for me to figure out, or the published in 2000s one. Yeah, that was a tricky one too. Oh, and now that I'm thinking about it, Graceling probably doesn't even count because I read that in January last year and it had to be for after April. So that one doesn't really count, but I'm not going to change it. Sorry, not sorry. Like I said, I'm not submitting it for points. I'm not going to submit my bingo board, so it's just for fun. So oh well. Try to remember that for the next year. Anyways, so that is our fantasy bingo board, my final update before we get the new one. There's definitely like a little bit of a learning curve. I didn't even attempt to do the hard mode. Clearly, because I just struggled on the basic mode. But I am looking forward to seeing what the prompts are next year and maybe being a little bit more strategic in filling out the board. And maybe building a couple of TBRs around it. Maybe not. We'll see. We'll see what the book project's situation is like in 2024. But if you have made it for the end of this video, thank you so much for watching and spending your time with me. I would love to know if you participated in this for this last year, if you're going to participate next year. I will definitely be doing a video with recommendations for the prompts like I did last year. If you want to see my video that I did last year for recommendations for the bingo board, I'll link that down below. I don't know that I read anything that I recommended in that video, now that I think about it, but it could be a good time regardless. And if you want to leave a comment to let me know you're here, let's do an X for, you know, crossing out your bingo square, and I will talk to you all in the next one. Bye.